Picture this. You walk into a room confident, steady, in control. Every step measured, every movement deliberate. You think you are the picture of strength, a presence no one can challenge. Yet, across the room, she notices something. Not the obvious. She sees the almost invisible. The hesitation in your shoulders, the fleeting flicker in your eyes, the tiny tremor in your hands that you never even realized. Most men will never see it, but she already has. It's remarkable, almost unfair. Women are hardwired to detect vulnerability. Their brains, their senses, their instincts, they operate on a level that surpasses observation. A woman doesn't merely watch. She deciphers, calculates, perceives patterns in seconds that a man might only understand in months or never at all. And this isn't about manipulation. It's biology, a survival mechanism coded into the human mind long before modern society existed. Consider the subtle behaviors men exhibit, the micro signals of weakness. A stammer when the pressure rises, a blink that comes a fraction too often, a smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. Fidgeting hands, crossed arms, defensive postures, over-explaining, overcompensating. These are the unconscious signals that broadcast insecurity without a single word. Women notice these. They sense them, interpret them, and adjust their perception accordingly. I've watched men over and over underestimate this. I've seen them strut, thinking confidence alone is enough to command attention, enough to impress. But the body tells truths the mind refuses to acknowledge. A slight hesitation in speech can undo an entire performance. A nervous gesture can outweigh years of experience. Your presence is betrayed not by what you say, but by what you can't hide. John was a businessman, confident in his career, respected in his circles. On the surface, he commanded meetings with charisma and charm, but when he interacted with a female colleague, he faltered. Micro-expressions betrayed the slightest doubt, a twitch in the lips, a subtle narrowing of the eyes. She noticed, immediately recalibrated her approach, and the advantage slipped from John's hands without him even knowing it. That's how subtle and often invisible this perception is. It's not limited to professional settings. In relationships, the pattern repeats itself endlessly. A man attempts to appear strong, emotionally stable, unshakable. Yet the woman he's with perceives the cracks almost instantly. A delayed response to a question, a flinch at an unexpected remark, a micro-expression that lasts only a fraction of a second, they notice. Women evaluate stability, consistency, and reliability. They don't consciously calculate, they instinctively feel. And when the signals are weak or inconsistent, the mind interprets them as risk. The truth is uncomfortable. Men are rarely taught how to truly observe themselves. We are told to be stoic, to conceal emotion, to project power. But emotion, subtle and nuanced, leaks through our bodies regardless. And while the world applauds bravado, women's perception remains a constant. It isn't the loud voice or the grand gestures that attract. It is the quiet stability that communicates control, competence, and authenticity. A man may appear confident on the surface while inside the storm rages. He overcompensates through stories, laughter, exaggeration, yet his body betrays him. The rapid blinking, the brief tension in the jaw, the hands twitching, shifting. A woman sees this, even subconsciously. She senses that the foundation beneath the projected persona is uneven. She adjusts accordingly. Sometimes she disengages, sometimes she probes further, but the perception has been made. Women's brains are tuned to survival and assessment, yes, but they are also tuned to connection. Oxytocin, the chemical of bonding, rewards them for accurate assessment. Dopamine reinforces attention to patterns that indicate safety, reliability, and value. They do not consciously decide to notice weakness. It is a reflex, a neurological imperative, honed over millennia. I've seen men crumble under this without ever understanding why. Mark, an entrepreneur, thought he was unshakable, magnetic, irresistible. Yet on dates, women would pose subtle tests, a delayed text, a provocative question, a playful challenge. His micro-reactions revealed tension he hadn't registered. She noticed his internal hesitation, his brief flashes of doubt, and the connection began to waver before he even realized there was a struggle at all. The patterns are universal. Voice fluctuations under stress, defensive body language, nervous laughter, overcompensation in storytelling. These are the indicators women sense first. Men often misinterpret them as trivial, believing confidence alone can mask the inner turbulence. But biology is relentless. Signals speak louder than words. Signals never lie. The modern world complicates this further. Culture teaches men to flaunt strength, success, and assertiveness, yet neglects emotional awareness. Bravado is celebrated, but stability and authenticity are underestimated. Women perceive the mismatch immediately. They sense the discrepancy between projected and genuine strength. And that discrepancy shapes their emotional response: hesitation, disengagement, evaluation, or even subtle testing. It is not personal failure, it is awareness. Women's perception is calibrated to detect, evaluate, and respond. They are assessing risk, value, and compatibility. When a man's internal uncertainty leaks outward, it triggers a subconscious recalibration. This is not manipulation, it is instinct. And the more a man projects false confidence, the more pronounced these signals become. Understanding this is critical. Strength is quiet, controlled, authentic. Control is internal, not performative. Confidence is earned through competence, not exaggerated displays. Emotional resilience, self-awareness, and micro-expression management are not vanity, they are survival tools. A man who masters these is no longer broadcasting weakness. He is communicating stability and reliability. This is not merely about romantic interactions. Every social context, professional engagement, and personal connection is influenced by these signals. A man who cannot regulate his micro-expressions under pressure reveals vulnerabilities that women, consciously or unconsciously, will detect. That is reality. That is biology. That is truth. I want you to imagine standing in a room, all eyes on you, yet none truly registering the performance, but every subtle signal being interpreted, decoded, evaluated. That's what women experience every moment. They sense hesitation, anxiety, and insecurity before it is even recognized internally. And the consequences are real: lost opportunities, diminished respect, relational disconnection. I've seen men rebuild themselves through awareness. They observe micro-expressions, they train posture, voice tone, and emotional response. They cultivate authenticity and internal calm. They become men whose presence commands attention not through projection, but through consistent internal stability. Women notice. They respond. The dynamic shifts, connection deepens, trust solidifies. This is not about perfection. Every man has moments of doubt. Every mind falters under pressure. But the mastery lies in recognition and regulation. Awareness alone changes the game. Understanding your own emotional signals allows you to stop broadcasting weakness unconsciously. It gives you agency, control, and credibility. The bitter truth: ignoring this reality leads to repeated failures in relationships, professional life, and social influence. Weakness is sensed before it is recognized. Disconnection happens before awareness occurs. Strength is invisible until cultivated. Stability is subtle until embodied. Women see these truths first, not as a game, but as instinct. So what is the solution? Self-awareness, emotional resilience, and authenticity. Observe your gestures, regulate voice tone, manage facial micro-expressions, ground yourself in internal validation, stop overcompensating, stop projecting false confidence. Strength must come from within, because when it does, the effects are undeniable. Women sense presence, stability, and control. Interactions shift. Opportunities arise naturally. Respect is given without demand. Connection deepens without effort. And the man who has mastered himself walks through life with quiet confidence, resilient in the face of doubt, unshaken by perception, and fully aware of his own value. This knowledge is not manipulative. It is empowering. It is a revelation of human nature. Every man can learn to calibrate his emotional presence, to align projected strength with internal stability. Every woman instinctively responds to this, reinforcing the truth: perception is reality, and biology is unrelenting. You are never too late to learn this. Awareness is the first step. Observation, adjustment, and authentic practice follow. Emotional mastery is not about control over others, but control over self. When the internal and external align, weakness is no longer visible. Presence becomes commanding. Confidence becomes authentic. And in the end, you realize something profound. Women sense weakness before men do, not to punish, but to navigate survival, compatibility, and emotional safety. A man who understands this stops being betrayed by his own signals. He gains agency, respect, and clarity. He becomes a man who commands life not through superficial charm, but through authentic strength. So, walk into every room aware. Observe yourself as keenly as they observe you. Adjust where necessary, strengthen where needed, and let authenticity speak louder than performance. Because strength hidden within but visible to the world through subtle mastery is more powerful than any show of bravado. And one day, you will notice the difference. Women will respond differently, not because you have performed, but because you have become. They sense stability, authenticity, and inner mastery before a word is spoken, before a gesture is made. You will be seen, respected, and valued in ways you never experienced before. This is the truth few men ever learn, the truth most women already understand, and the truth that can change the way you live, relate, and connect. Awareness, emotional regulation, and authenticity, the silent tools of influence and connection, are yours to master. And when you do, you walk not with the weight of insecurity, but with the quiet, undeniable force of a man who understands himself, his value, and the subtle, unspoken truths of human perception.